Retro Now.
And welcome, everybody, to a Tiny Toons episode of the Animaniacast.
Mad, you say? Crazy, you say? Slightly imbalanced in the face of opposition, you say, if you have the time? Well, would a madman do this? Don't answer that.
And welcome, everybody, to a spooky episode of Talkin Tiny Toons. Yes, this is the spin-off series of the Animanicast. And today we are talking all about another episode of Tiny Toon Adventures, specifically Night Ghoulery. Woo! Boo! We're going to revisit all of our favorite jokes and many of the cultural references. There's a lot of them. And of course, in the end, we're going to give this episode of Tiny Toon Adventures a Water Tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me once again are my co-hosts. There's my brother Nathan.
Yay, verily, forsooth, and Ignatz.
And across the country in Georgia, there's Kelly.
Hello.
Hello. Wow, we are like spookily getting back together despite, Nathan just got the COVID and Kelly just got like banged up in the shoulder from surgery. So, but we're still here, folks. We're still
taken
here.
apart, put back together.
Yeah. Both of them were kind of like today's episode where Sneezer sneezed and both of them kind of like were smashed together, and so we had to rip them apart, put them back together. It was a whole deal. But we're back. It's been a while since we've all been able to record an episode together. We've had the past few weeks, we've been sharing all the FanX audio from panels and stuff like that. But today, it's Halloween time, so I figured we gotta do this episode of Tiny Toon Adventures. It's Tiny Toon Adventures Night Ghoulery. And if someone were to ask you about this very spooky episode of Tiny Toon Adventures, what would you tell them, Nathan?
It's like an hour long.
Just about, yeah. And Kelly, what about you?
It had many segments.
Many segments. This is true. So
these are facts. We're good at this.
Yeah, exactly. If that's not a description that sums it all up, I don't know what is. But before we start getting into deep diving into all these different segments, Nathan, please tell us, when did this episode first premiere?
Ooh, of course, this premiered on the spookiest of holiday days, which was, of course, Sunday, May 28th of 1995.
Ooh, right before the summer break.
And then, of course, this was just 2 days after the theatrical release of the spooky movie Casper.
Ooh.
And Superman himself, the Christopher Reeve actor, is paralyzed from the neck down after falling from his horse. Oh, no.
That's sad.
And this is a week after the Oklahoma City bombing. This is just not a good week. I mean, Casper was good, so it's
yeah. Go with Casper.
But 1995, I guess. There you go. Those are the big events.
Yes, Casper, written, of course, as I'm sure most of our listeners know, written by two of the writers from Animaniacs, Sherry Stoner and Deanna Oliver, wrote that. And I had good memories of that. There's some bad memories of those other things, Nathan, but Casper was good.
I don't know.
I remember we saw it in the theater. Do you remember what happened at the theater, Nathan?
The lights went out.
The lights went out. It was very spooky.
Yeah.
Spooky. It was the part
right at the end of the movie.
Right at the end. It was I think during the summer, and it was the monsoon was hitting.
I remember being very confused at why the dad was suddenly dead. I think, or something like that.
Yeah, the movie just opened up at like a few, like at the wrong part of the reel or something. But I remember Christina Ricci says to Casper, it's time. And then you hear this big thunderclap and the whole theater went black. And we were like, whoa. And then the lights went back up. And it took a little while for the movie to begin again, but pretty dramatic Casper showing.
Yeah.
Very memorable. But anyway, so yes, people have very positive memories about Casper to this day. So, and there's a little Casper stuff going on in this. So there's your connection.
Yeah, what a coincidence.
Wow. Yes, this episode, I guess, was originally going to premiere in October of 94, but for some reason it got pushed off to 95. So I don't know.
I wonder why they would have chosen October for this.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's because
we should ask Tom that.
Exactly. Why did you pick October originally?
Why was October a chosen date?
Well, it premiered on Fox. I know that, and so this must have been like right at the end. I don't know. This is like unfortunately, this is like the last really new stuff of Tiny Toon Adventures that we got. This is like the swan song of Tiny Toons.
Yeah, I think this is like their last appearance on TV, probably, right? Like, because the Animaniacs ones would have already appeared by now.
Animaniacs was already out at this point, so and so they even like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people already realize this, but you listen to the episode. But John Kassir is doing Buster's voice in this. Charlie Adler had, of course, been doing Buster's voice for many years, but there was a big kind of you can read about it online. I guess Charlie did, apparently, and I'm not 100% sure on this, so I'm not necessarily a reliable source. But what I read online was that Charlie Adler was upset that he was not going to be on Animaniacs, and he had a big, I quit moment, and they had to replace him on the remaining episodes of Tiny Toons and for this one right here. So John Kassir, who did the voice of the Crypt Keeper on the cartoon series, and I think also the actual Tales of the Crypt itself, he's doing Buster's voice. So he's a spooky guy too, because he does that creepy voice. But yeah.
It explains why Buster's so little in this episode.
Yeah. I know, they don't really show Buster that much. Speaking of the Crypt Keeper, though, and John Kassir, you can be heard in the Solar Opposites Halloween special I was just watching, and listening to. You watch and listen. That's how I do things with TV. I don't know about you folks at home. It's this new thing called television. You watch and you listen. Yeah. But John Kassir does the Crypt Keeper voice in that thing, which was cool. Anyway. There's a lot of cool stuff in this episode. I think we better get into it. So let's get right into our discussion. Night Ghoulery was written by Peter Hastings, Paul Dini, Paul Rugg, and Rich Arons, and it was directed by Michael Gerard, Rusty Mills, Rich Arons, and Greg Reyna. At this point, I don't know the who wrote exactly which segments. Again, hopefully we'll be able to figure that out at some point. But at this point, we don't know. So credit to them. That's as much credit as we can give. Might have been a collaborative effort on some of these, but at any rate, I think before we get into our big discussion of the segments, we got to note something that if you watch this episode, this special on Hulu, it opens up with the Tiny Toon Adventures theme, but they are showing there's kind of splicing in spooky stuff going on with them. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't quite make sense. I remember watching it on Hulu going, this doesn't look right. Like something's wrong. Like the lip sync is off and it just looks sloppy. And sure enough, it's not supposed to be the original opening. If you go on YouTube, you can watch the original opening, which is, I think it's the pumpkin guy, I guess it's what it's called. It's a nightmare. It's Jack's Lament. It's very much a parody of Jack's Lament, but starring
from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, from Nightmare Before Christmas.
You just called it a nightmare, and I was like, oh no.
The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I was lucky enough to see in its original run. I remember seeing that in theaters as well. Super awesome movie, one of my favorite movies. A great movie to watch in Halloween or Christmas time. Just keep it running. Just started in October, and you just keep watching it on repeat into December. It's a great movie. But I guess I could kind of see why this was deleted from re-showings on Hulu, because it is a very close parody.
Yeah, it's almost identical.
Yeah. The song sounds even though it's like not the same tune at all, but it's very similar in tone. I honestly, it's a good parody. It's a parody, folks. But when you look at Jack, especially when Jack has a pumpkin on his head, and I could see why Disney would be like, or Warner Brothers might be like, it's better safe than sorry. This looks a little too close. His outfit looks very similar, like with the bow tie and everything. And I don't know. I think it's a brilliant parody, but I could understand why it's deleted. Unfortunately, that means that the only versions that are still around are kind of like from the VHS copy, which don't look as good, but it's still a cool song. So let's go ahead and play a little bit of that right now.
Tonight's my night, I'm the pumpkin guy. On All Hallows Eve, I'll fly through the sky. But alas and alack, I'm bored out of my skull. My once favorite holiday has grown so dull. It's tired, trite, and also routine. I crave different thrills on this Halloween.
So Jack goes over into the forest, and just like in Nightmare Before Christmas, he sees these trees that are all different holidays. So they had President's Day, and I think Groundhog Day, and Arbor Day, I think was another one. And then he just sees the Tiny Toons logo, which then goes into what was the real opening of the modified Tiny Toon Adventures theme. And this is what you hear.
I wonder what hides beyond this door. It just might be what I'm looking for.
We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony, and under a full moony, we're something to be seen. Things could get hairy and just a little scary, so we're saying to be wary on this Halloween. Ghouls, ghosts, and goblins are coming out at night. They'll flex their jaws and show their claws, filling us with fright.
The monsters will find you.
You better look behind you.
It's Tiny Toon Adventures, and it's quite a sight.
The holiday started to bless that dear departed, and now for the faint-hearted, we're telling scary tales.
Our costumes are ready.
I'm dressing up as Freddy.
I'll be J. Paul Getty.
The scary soupy sales.
We'll wear our outfits and knock on neighbors' doors.
We'll trick or treat, and then we'll eat
Candies by the score. We're fearful.
We're frightening. Watch out for that lightning.
It's Tiny Toon Adventures, and it's Halloween.
Now let the show begin.
How long till Mother's Day?
So all the little segments showing like zombie Tiny Toons and all that jazz that they show in the Hulu version is in the appropriate location with the lip sync matching in this. So that was cool to see. So we have we had some costumes. I guess the biggest segment, the biggest connection to stuff is the costumes that they are dressed in. So Plucky dresses up like Freddy Krueger. I always said Cougar as a kid. Monty's dressed up like J. Paul Getty, the oil tycoon from like the early 20th century, I believe. Go-Go is Scary Soupy Sales. Soupy Sales is a comedian. And Hampton's dressed up like Barney Rubble. Shirley looks like she's dressed up like Jeannie from I Dream of Jeannie. And Fifi just is put on a really good Dot Warner costume. So there's your cross pollinating right there with Animaniacs. Yeah. The I guess that this is not the only place that the Pumpkin Guy song has been cut out. On the Hub network, it was also cut out. So it looks like this has been kind of cut out for a while.
I think everywhere almost. It just seems like they wanted more commercials, probably.
Yeah. So that version on Hulu that was on the Hub is also on. Yeah. So anyway, the version on Hub is also on Hulu. It's a bummer that is not on there. But what did you guys think of this first Pumpkin Guy segment? Nathan, let's start with you.
I liked the new lyrics to the song. It was fun. That you don't get to hear on the Hulu version. Yeah, yeah. Like, oh yeah, this is fun. Like different, same tune, different words. Haha.
I like the how he was using different words for feeling sad. Like the thesaurus, basically. Kelly, what did you? I know you had just seen this, Kelly, before we started recording. So, anything of note that you saw that was cool?
I really liked the animation, the reflection of the pumpkin head guy, and when he was opening the doorknob.
Yeah, which was a direct mirror of the actual movie itself. Again, it's just like really cool, like the little things they do, like him walking down the stairs of the thing. I think it's like a great parody because you can tell they're admiring the Nightmare Before Christmas, which I think back then in '95, I don't even think it really gotten its popularity as much as it is today. I don't think it really started really taking off until around 2000 when you started seeing it in Hot Topic year round. But I really thought the Zero gag was good in this one too, where it looks like it's Zero flying up to him, but instead it's just a box of tissues.
A tissue box. Yeah.
I was like, that's cute. I showed my wife this whole clip before going, and she loves zeros. She loves dogs. So seeing Zero made her go, oh, and she brightened up, and then she saw it was a box of tissues, and then she was like, oh. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into our discussion of the main segment here of Night Ghoulery.
This evening's diversion. A cluster of curious canvases from Weirdsville. Each peculiar painting, a ticket to Strangeland. That would be one stop past Weirdsville.
So Night Ghoulery is based upon Night Gallery, which had Rod Serling in it. So Babs is doing the introduction in the Night Gallery show. Rod Serling would walk up. It was almost like, it's what you did when you couldn't do Twilight Zone anymore. You basically had a painting and you would introduce the story just like he used to with the Twilight Zone.
An unforgiving sea usually buries its secrets beneath itself. Warships and ocean liners, treasure galleons and submarines turn into rusting relics inside a watery locker, lost to memory. But occasionally there comes a floating, unbidden reminder of disaster, like this lifeboat. The painting is called The Lone Survivor. We'll put it in tow and see where she came from and why. This is the Night Gallery.
So she has these kind of Rod Serling teeth in, and she's doing a really great Rod Serling impression. She does a ton of impressions, and I think we might as well. The wiki goes over them at the beginning of the introduction of this, and I think that's a great idea because she does a ton of them. She does an impression of Rod Serling. Later on, she gets these big eyebrows and stuff. She's Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes. There's Mary Tyler Moore, and then Roger Moore, a.k.a. 007. There's the church lady. There's from Saturday Night Live, Gene Shalit, and then I think Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. And as far as I can tell, the wiki also left off William F. Buckley, I believe, is another impression that she's doing when she's talking.
Yeah,
about
she does so many that I'm like, there's no way you could list them all.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Like,
it's great. Yeah, it's very. Yeah,
this is a great Tress MacNeille episode because she gets to really showcase all the impressions and even just obscure impressions. We just shared that. I think it was the Freakazoid panel.
Yeah, the Freakazoid panel.
Yeah, that Tom was talking about Tress MacNeille, how great she is, and how she does all these great impressions as Babs. And this is just a great example of all that. Really, really fantastic stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the first short. The first short is based on, of course, The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, except this time it's the Telltale Vacuum.
A haunting helping of horror and household appliances we call the Telltale Vacuum.
And we don't know who wrote the Telltale Vacuum. It was one of those people I mentioned at the beginning.
We can assume a lot of times they'll put them in order of what they wrote, but there's too many people. I mean, there's too many segments for the people. But
let's give this one to
be Peter Hastings.
Yeah, let's give this one to Peter Hastings. Why not? So Nathan, what happens in the Telltale Vacuum?
Okay, so I guess Hampton and Plucky are living together, and Plucky's fine with that, except Hampton keeps vacuuming all the time, and we hear his inner monologue, and he's talking in very big words. He has some sort of thesaurus or something, and
See, it was not he who raised my ire and made my blood boil so. See, it was his vacuum cleaner. Oh, the whining of that motor. Whenever it fell upon my ears, my blood ran cold. And so I decided by degrees, see, to take the life of that vacuum and be rid of it forever. Ha!
We find out that the vacuum is really annoying Plucky. So he decides when Hampton's asleep, he's going to sneak over to the vacuum's bed and grab it and destroy it, killing the vacuum and then burying it underneath the floorboards. And the next morning, Hampton's like, hey, have you seen my vacuum? He's like, I don't know. You should go looking for it. He's like, yeah, because you're never going to find it. And sure enough, he never finds it. He can't find it. So they're like, all right, well, let's sit and we'll just talk. And Hampton's so worried about his vacuum. He starts talking about this vacuum that's gone missing and how much he loves it.
Well then, my friend, let us sit and enjoy some meaningless chit-chat.
I really looked everywhere for it. I don't know how I could lose a vacuum cleaner.
I listened to my friend drone on, perfectly at ease.
It couldn't have just gotten up and walked away. That vacuum weighed 7.2 pounds and was one of the heavier ones that had a light in front. Well, there was one that was heavier, but it had an 8-watt bulb, and mine had a 15-watt, which is odd because you'd think the small bulb would be lighter and the whole machine would be lighter, but nowadays they put all kinds of different handle types and even the power cords that could have a significant effect on the weight of the machine, which they make up for with power assist drives and fancy names like Zoom Broom. But there's nothing like pushing a big heavy vacuum across some soiled shag and hearing the little plinkety-plink of objects going around the meter bar and into the bag.
But ere long, I wished his monologue to end.
And while he's talking, Plucky starts hearing this whirring, like this vacuuming sound, and he starts going like, oh my gosh, it's the sound of the vacuum. And then he confesses that he had destroyed the vacuum and he'll replace it. And sure enough, he becomes the vacuum now. And he's even going to get attachments, I guess. So there you go. That's the...
Yes, he won't have to replace it with money. Money won't be necessary.
No, he will replace it.
Yes, in a different way. So there's quite a few references in this one. Obviously, the Edgar Allan Poe story, which I remember reading for the first time, I think in middle school or maybe even elementary school. Guy, see if I can remember this story correctly. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong. Guy murders his, I think, friend, maybe roommate. I'm not quite sure. Chops
Wife?
him up.
I don't know.
I think it's his friend. I don't think it's his wife.
Okay.
But he chops up the person, we'll say, puts him under the floorboards, and it's the heart that's beating. And the investigators don't really suspect the guy at all, but they just keep talking, and they're like, and the guy's like, these people are mocking me. They can hear it too. They can hear that heart. And he says, it's under the cursed floorboards. And I remember reading the story because that's where it kind of ends, not with him being taken away. It's just like under the floorboards and then fade to black. Like,
he kills an old man with a vulture eye.
Yes, that eye. And I think he sleeps with the eye open or something, and it drives the guy crazy because that darn old man. Now I'm remembering little bits of it. Okay, so Plucky has some good going crazy stuff in here. He has a lot of different words for it. It's mad. Some might say mad. Some might say crazy. Some might say slightly imbalanced in the face of slight opposition, or whatever he says. There was the whole part of chopping up the vacuum. It reminded me of when Mickey chops up the broom in Fantasia, because it shows the silhouette of him and the vacuum, just like Mickey and the broom. There was also a quick reference to the Toyota commercials.
Oh, anything was better than this punishment. Oh, what torture. Oh, what misery. Oh, what a feeling, Toyota.
Which reminds me of Forget Paris with you.
Yep, you asked for it, you got it.
You got it. Toyota. I got to see Forget Paris again. I loved seeing that movie, and I think that's worth a revisit. Edward Munch's painting, The Scream, is also referenced by Babs when they're going into today's episode, showing Plucky screaming. And then that later scream, there's a double Edward Munch Scream parody, both with this and then later on with the Hold That Duck parody with Plucky. So if you like Scream painting, they got you in this episode. But yeah, good stuff. That's pretty much it for the references, but there's some other cool stuff in this. What are some things that caught your eye that you liked? Kelly, what did you see that you liked?
I loved the fact that Hampton loved the vacuum so much it had its own little bed. So and I just recently read The Telltale Heart. I read some selected stories by Edgar Allan Poe recently, and that was one of them. So I liked how close it was to. I felt like this was like something I could show to kids when studying Edgar Allan Poe or something. It really felt like a good parody of it. Nathan, what is anything in this part?
I liked the words that that Plucky chose, I guess, as some of these, and he just kind of runs out of words sometimes, like hide it very, very good.
So meticulous, so cunning.
And my care in disposing of the remains was so meticulous, so cunning, so really, really good.
Good stuff. And of course, like there's that great scene where just Hampton's just about this vacuum, and he's just like tapping his finger against his beak, and it's just like you just are watching Plucky just descend into madness, boredom and madness at the same time. Just the animation, I got to mention. If I don't mention this later, the animation in this episode, amazing animation, shadows. The expressions, everything about this is amazing. Just like
it was,
this is TMS
like nominated
doing animation.
by TMS, the Tokyo movie Shinsa.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, it's just superb. It looks like feature film quality animation going on. Really, really great stuff. I really want to see like a high definition transfer of this at some point. I really think that it needs to be on Blu-ray, like a really great format. Anyway, that right there was our first one. But we move on to another quick segment, and this is Little Sneezer. And this is Sneezer the Sneezy Ghost.
Sneezer the Sneezy Ghost, the Sneezy sneeziest ghost you'll meet. Achoo! From his nose, when he blows, and children think it's neat. Achoo! He always says, achoo! His allergies are scary. He sneezes till he's blue, and pulls away his adversaries. Achoo! Grown-ups just pick right up when a mouse comes in the house. He doesn't go boo, he goes, achoo! He's Sneezer the Sneezy Ghost. Achoo!
So, Sneezer the Sneezy Ghost. Kelly, why don't you tell us what happens in this quick little segment here?
So, the character Witch Hazel, who I think used to appear in some, old Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yeah.
Tells Furball to catch Sneezer the Sneezing Ghost.
If you don't catch that mouse, my little kitty, you'll be back out on the street. Now catch that mouse.
And there's like this whole little song parody based on Casper the Friendly Ghost and that. So Sneezer's a little white ghost and sneezes, and Furball dresses like a Ghostbuster, and he's got a proton pack or whatever, and he's gonna try to catch Sneezer with that. And Sneezer sneezes and gets Furball. And Furball ends up becoming a ghost himself.
Oh boy! Now you're really gonna be my friend, aren't you?
Which that was very dark. I was not. That one actually made me laugh out loud. That that surprised me that happened in this episode. I was like, "Whoa, he just killed Furball." That was pretty funny. Happens in Casper though too, to the dad. So I forget about this dad guying it. I that happened very. Doesn't he come back though? I fear, doesn't he, or is he dead the entire time?
Like you can die and come back to life. Come on.
I guess he's just dead, isn't he? That's right. And he's just like, and he's just a ghost. Hey,
no, he comes back to life.
He does? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Can you tell it's been 20-something years since I've seen this Casper movie? Yeah, it's true.
We just spoiled the ending for anyone who hasn't seen it. But...
Oh, well. Okay, well, anyway, so Furball becomes a ghost. So now we have a ghost cat and a ghost mouse. Furball says, well, now's my chance to finally eat this mouse that has been eluding me.
Because they're both ghosts. Yeah, they can actually hurt each other now, I guess.
And so Furball chomps Sneezer, and then Sneezer blows up Furball.
Lose more friends that way.
Which again made me laugh and go, "Wow!"
He died and then died again.
Exactly. Now he's really dead. Because Furball was like, when he's a ghost, he's like, well, I mean, what you gonna do? You still have a owner that's a witch, so it can't be that odd for her. I mean, she's just like whatever.
She doesn't even know the difference between a live and dead mouse, anyway.
Exactly. She just goes, get rid of that mouse. So By the way, June Foray voicing Witch Hazel right there. Very cool. I mean, she's just a legend, and she did stuff. Gosh, into her twilight years, she voiced Witch Hazel and Grandma and all those characters for how many years? 50-something years. So cool to have her briefly appear in this episode. But Nathan, anything in this segment that you thought was cool that we didn't mention?
Yeah, I liked. No, just having Witch Hazel there was a lot of fun. I was like, hey, I saw a whole segment about her at Comic-Con, so that was.
I think it was one funny weird thing was that Bumby appears in this, but Sneezer sneezes and blows Bumby's skin off, which is very. This was of all the segments, I thought like. It's sweet and cute as Sneezer is. This is probably the most twisted one of all the episodes, which was interesting to see. It was definitely it was interesting. I liked Sneezer, super cute, and the things that happened. I could see why those villagers were chasing after Sneezer with those pitchforks and everything, because he would become he's killing things.
Yeah.
This guy's no good. Anyway. But he just wants a friend. Oh, well. Well, let's go and move on to our next segment here. This is the Devil Dog on the Moors. The Moors.
Did you ever wonder what exactly they mean by Moore? What, is it Mary Tyler Moore? Oh, Mr. Grant! Or maybe they're talking about Roger.
Bond. James Bond.
Or maybe they simply mean Denty. With bread dipping gravy.
Well, this takes place in good old Ireland. And I don't know if John McClanahan had anything to do with this, but he should have. Because there's a lot of Irish people, of course, and they were, of course, John McClanahan works for Star Toon, so I guess he didn't have anything to do with this, but whatever. Work with it. Work with me, folks. Anyway, Babs is singing a sad, sad tune about shingles at an Irish pub that serves non-alcoholic juice. Specifically, it looks like cranberry juice.
Me mother had shingles and me father had 'em too. Me uncles and me aunties and me lovely sister Sue. But shingles are not all always smile, never frown. It could be worse, don't you know?
At least I'm not a clown.
Anyway, she sings her sad story, and she's about to go off, but they're like, oh no, you can't go out. They hear this howling, and it's the devil dog. And the devil dog, they have to put these elk antlers on. We found out about this devil dog because this Patty, who is voiced by Jim Cummings, who says just,
Actually, it was Patty that first heard it and seed it.
He's apparently been afflicted by this dog somehow. It was very scary. And apparently there was something about hearing the word kibble, which dog kibble, I guess. Kibbles and bits, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a trigger warning right there for Patty.
He just kept saying the same word over and over again. Kibble, 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 kibble.
At any rate, Babs doesn't believe in this at all. She's like, give me a break. She has a great line of get a life and live it already. I love that line. Anyway, she opens the door, and of course, it's Byron Bassett, which I saw coming. And he said, I saw it coming so much to the point where the door comes down, and I said, woof, at the same time that Byron said, woof. It still made me laugh, but I thought, haha, saw it coming. What I did not see coming, however, was as soon as Babs takes off her antlers, despite their warning, Babs is immediately eaten whole, just one bite, and she's in Byron's stomach. And that's the end. So that's it. What did you think about this devil dog on the moors? Kelly, anything in this that you like seeing?
I liked all the Irish accents. It was fun.
Yeah, I particularly liked. I thought you would like this part because of Jim Cummings. I thought sounded a lot like Ed. Just nonsense coming out, and he does a good job at that. Nathan, what about you?
It was spooky. No, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a nice little twist ending. And I guess Babs is still alive because she says,
yeah, she's still introducing more segments.
Like,
so.
I understand now. Yeah,
and then she figured a way out.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very good that it feels like it's part of a bigger story that she's on a trip to Ireland with her school group, and you learn all these things just from filling in the gaps, and I don't know, all the caricatures of all the people in the pub looked really good. It just, again, excellent animation and expressions on all the characters, and
a fun
really
song.
Cool.
So
yeah, my mom.
The best rendition.
I hope I don't get shingles. I gotta get my shingles vaccine in a few years. I'm sure. I think once you hit 50 or something like that, 50, 60, I don't know. because
50, 50, 60.
50, 50, 60. 100, once you hit 160, that's when you get your shingles vaccine.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Yeah, I've heard shingles is horrible. So yeah, don't want to get it. Babs is right. Let's go ahead and move on to a very Spielbergian segment. This is Fuel. And Kelly, you got to tell us. This one had your name all over it, sort of. It's what happens here in Fuel.
So Calamity Coyote is out on the highway driving a car, and there's this big brown fuel truck, and it's behind him, and he waves it around so it can pass him. He's getting kind of impatient. Sees their reflection in the side view mirror. Objects are closer than they appear, and the truck really starts hounding him. And there's a couple of instances where he gets out of the car. Like there's a time where he goes into a diner, and it's just like seeing the movie Spielberg's Duel, which was initially a made-for-TV movie, and it preceded all of his theatrically released films. But it was a huge success. And in the movie, he recognizes the cowboy boots. I think they're cowboy boots. And so he's like darting back and forth to the shoes of people in the diner and trying to see who matches the boots of the driver of the fuel truck. But it's funny because in the cartoon, his gaze travels across all these people in the diner, but then there's the actual truck inside. Yeah.
Just tricky.
Right. Then at another point, Calamity gets out of the car and runs into a phone booth. And because he doesn't speak, he dials emergency, and he keeps holding up these signs trying to explain what happened. And the people on the other end, can't hear him. I mean, they can't see him or hear him.
Yeah.
And so they don't know what's going on, and then the truck runs them over. Again, that happens in the movie too.
Does he get run over a bunch of times?
I mean, he manages to evade, but I think I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but there's like a little like reptile exhibit on the side of the road, and then because I think he might have been in the phone booth around there, and then the truck crashes through and crashes all these aquariums and things like that in the phone booth. And
wow.
They're jockeying for position on the road all the time, and he keeps trying to flee this truck, and every time he thinks he's fled the truck, it appears out of the corner, behind him, in front of him, or if he gets out of the truck or his car, the truck driver's right there. I mean, and you never see who drives the truck, and you never really know what their motive is or anything. It's this faceless being.
Wow.
Torments the salesman who just wants to get home to his family. Like, he's tired, he's burnt out. He's like, I just want to get home. So
in this case, at least we see that little beeper. I mean, surprise, surprise, is the guy that's chasing Calamity around, yes. Which makes sense. But yeah, how weird that. I mean, I know in I think in the original Duel, the only reason I know this is because watching the Jaws documentary that the truck goes over like a embankment or something like that and crashes, I think. And they used that same sound in the mix of Jaws when Bruce is blown up. And I think they put the sound of the truck in.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, so you can kind of hear it. So it's kind of a salute to Spielberg's first film, which is cool. I always like sound Easter eggs. At any rate, Nathan, what did you think about this fuel segment here?
Oh, I thought it was really funny. Yeah, it was a little scary too. But yeah, I like the phone booth, and you can see the truck like driving through the desert just to run them over, and And yeah, the bar scene
that
is a lot
bar
of fun,
when he's
so.
the truck is just drinking like with a straw and then looks up and sees him. I like how it's like Calamity. It's like he gets up like, I'm gonna go that truck. He watches the truck like pull into the, I guess, around the bar. I guess the assumption being that the guy is going to be in there, and of course the entire truck being in the bar. A great gag. I mean, it makes me smile just thinking about it. Really worked. It was very surprising, and yeah, the whole thing of talking on 911. Oh, you stupid kids! Prank calls.
Hello? Is someone there? Police emergency line. Hello? Oh, crazy kids and their prank calls.
Good gags right there. So this right here, this segment of Fuel, better than any Roadrunner and Coyote cartoon I've ever seen. Right? This alone was better than any Roadrunner Coyote segment. They really did a good job on it. Liked it a lot. Simple concept, but it was beautifully animated and just really well executed. Well, speaking of executions, let's get to a devil thing where somebody's going to be on trial and could be executed. Let's talk about the devil.
Great execution.
Transitions. Let's talk about the devil and Daniel Webfoot.
And now a study in stone. A portrait in panic as a lackluster lawyer meets his match in...
Let me guess. Could it be Satan?
Nathan, what happens here in the devil and Daniel Webfoot?
All right. Well, we have another Plucky and Hampton get together. And Plucky has a weird accent again or something. I don't know.
Make haste, friend Hampton. I hear our good neighbor Jabez Monty is in sorrowful need of my counsel.
Are you ever going to talk normal in this special, Plucky?
Just stick to the script, Hambone.
And they find out that Montana Max has maybe sold his soul to the devil or something, you know. And sure enough, his house looks pretty haunted and scary. And also, for further evidence, is the actual devil himself saying that, indeed, Montana Max has sold his soul for $10 million. And Plucky's like, actually, for $20 million, you can have my soul too. But
hey, Scratchy, as long as we're talking money here, I know a good slightly tarnished soul. I'll steal at only 20 mil.
I wouldn't give you 40 cents in recyclable cans.
Fine. Then I'll see you in court, Beelzebub.
Not gonna happen. So Plucky agrees to take the case for Montana Max to get it so that, you know, because what right does this devil have on the soul? So they go to court or something, but this is devil's court, so it has the jury is not of their peers, but of, you know, the worst scum and villainy humanity. Villainy, is that not the
villainy
term?
Right?
People
I don't know.
All right, you say your thing, I'll say mine.
Put it in the comments, YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah, so anyways, the villainy of all the people is pretty bad.
By what device, sir, do you claim ownership of my client's immortal soul, huh?
This contract signed in blood.
Uh-oh. How are you fixed for sunblock?
Montana Max actually pulls Plucky by his bill when he says, "You should see my bill," and he pulls his bill down. So he's actually pulled into hell with Montana Max, and they get scared by the devil and run away. And the devil opens the suit, and it's actually it's Babs Bunny. And that's how she got out of.
She went into a dog and then into a devil.
That might not be
out of a dog and into a devil. Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
This is the same devil kind of character that you see in Animaniacs, and also voiced by Ron Perlman. So there you go. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. There's also a lot of other background people in this one. There's a whole line of people waiting to sell their souls. There was this, Baloney was in there. That was cool. There's also these Beavis and Butthead characters that I was not familiar with, but apparently they're Beaver and Hoghead from the Tiny Toons Spring Break special, which we'll have to watch one of these days. Mr. Director was there. That was something. They also had some. Let's see. I wrote them down. Oh yeah, the worst of the worst. The ghosts. We had William Shatner was in there, still alive by the way. One of the pirate backup singers from HMS Yakko was there. The sergeant from that one,
Sergeant Sweetie.
Sergeant Sweetie, is that his name?
Yeah, I'm just looking him up. Sergeant Sweetie from the Dodo Boys and
yes,
that
Dodo
episode.
Boys
I forget
from
what the actual...
Animaniacs. He was in the background there. Apparently, he died after. I think didn't he explode or something in that episode? Maybe that.
Yeah, boot camping was the segment, and it was the same
Dodo
episode
Boys.
as
I'm like
Dodo Boys.
That was the Goodfeathers. That came after that one. Okay.
Yeah, but there's in the same
episode.
Yeah,
gotcha.
General Beauregard was also in that segment.
Good episode.
That episode so.
There's a commentary. Hey,
yeah,
Patreon plug mid-episode. Hey, we have a commentary on an episode featuring both Tom Ruger and John P. McCann. So who wrote those segments? Or at least two of them.
Yeah, Sergeant Sweetie, voiced by Ron Perlman.
Really?
Right.
Also, so he should have voiced him too. My goodness. Okay. Well, at any rate, also the network executive that talks about the Chevy Chase show.
I still say the Chevy Chase show could work.
Did he look familiar to you, Nathan?
Yeah, that's the son of Ralph.
son of Ralph.
Ralph Jr.
A lot of people wondered, why isn't Ralph's son the CEO of Animaniacs in the reboot? Well, here you go, folks.
He died.
He's dead.
He's dead.
Yep. He's dead. And he was a bad person, too. You might have thought he was good, but nope. He turned bad, and he died. And he thinks that this Chevy Chase show could work. And I remember the Chevy Chase show. Chevy Chase is apparently a big jerk. At the time, though, in the 90s, I thought he was funny. And I remember watching, instead of doing what I should have done, which is watch The Late Show with David Letterman premiering, I was watching the Chevy Chase show on Fox. And I think the main reason I watched it was I knew this show's not going to last. I got to watch this show before it goes away forever. And sure enough, I think it lasted maybe a month, but I think it only lasted 2 weeks. Chevy Chase had a late night talk show, folks. Fox tried, and it didn't work. The end. But let's go ahead and talk about anything else that you noticed from this. I covered a lot of it, but there's some other stuff in here. Kelly, anything from the Devil and Daniel Webfoot that stood out for you at all?
It looked fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. But Nathan, anything from you? Anything else?
No, I really like seeing the Mr. Director and things like that.
Yeah.
the Baloney the Dinosaur things. That was like a little fun. And yeah, the wait till you see my bill right after saying like call them a cheap attorney was cute. And,
the shyster, which I don't know if that
a shyster.
Yeah, I don't know if you're allowed.
Yeah.
Is that something you can still say? I think it's Yiddish.
Probably can't say that.
Probably
I don't
not.
know.
But I said it, and I'm sorry if I shouldn't be saying that. I said it in reference to what they said in the show. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
And I wonder why Babs had to be the devil at the end. Like,
yeah, the
just to make it.
I guess the only thing, if I were to because they didn't need to do that, right? They could have just. They felt like the gag ending was not necessarily like you could have just had them end with them running down a corridor and Iris out.
Yeah,
but Babs being the devil. Yeah.
To lessen I don't know. It seems like something a network thing would be like, oh, we can't have the devil. They can't be the devil.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, at any rate. Well, we're getting towards the end. There's only a few more segments to go. 7 more segments.
Oh gosh. No.
Let's get to the next short. The next short is Abbott and Costello parody, and this is Hold That Duck.
These grand old funny men find themselves surrounded by madcap monsters and comical creatures in the classic Hold That Duck.
So in this one, Plucky and Buster are going to Horsehead Manor with this very creepy chauffeur who has a very creepy eye, who keeps telling them to be afraid of things.
This is as far as I go, says I.
Why won't you take us to the door?
Things.
Things?
things.
Things.
Yeah, the things joke was very funny to me. But anyway, they go into this mansion, and Buster has this personality, of course, of Bud Abbott, I believe is his name, right? And then there's Lou Costello. Yeah, I got to put a quick thing on this. I've never been a Abbott and Costello person. I've been Laurel and Hardy, #1, watching those movies, and then to a lesser extent, Three Stooges and Marx Brothers, and then Abbott and Costello was always at the lowest. Like I don't think I've ever seen the main thing that they're parroting in this, which is the title of "Hold That Ghost." Other than I did see the opening of "Hold That Ghost," and they did an excellent job of parroting the opening titles with this one of "Hold That Duck," where they have the ghost chasing Plucky and Buster, and in the original, it's a cartoon ghost chasing a cartoon version of Abbott and Costello down a pathway, and the ghost turns into the title with the same font and everything like that. It looks very similar with "Hold That Duck" and "Hold That Ghost." So excellent job. The folks making this really, obviously loved this, Abbott and Costello movie. There was a little bit of it. Oh, go ahead.
You didn't mention Fontaine and Lunt. So what is your...
Yes. My opinion...
I was like, you're naming all these other ones.
Oh,
but of course.
I'm a huge fan of Fontaine and Lunt.
Okay. All right. Just checking, making sure.
Love that husband and wife couple.
You can continue on.
Okay, good. Sonny and Cher, not a big fan though. So there also seems to be a little bit of I forget if it's Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein or meet the werewolf, but there's this little part where you could tell the animators were like having fun with this episode, this segment, I should say, because the animation on Plucky calling out for Buster. Much like Costello would go, Abbott, Abbott, or whatever Abbott's name might have been in the movie that they were doing.
Oh, Buster! 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 What is it?
Boy, oh boy, did they get the exaggerating his teeth and his mouth and his eyeballs. And Plucky himself looks a little, I guess they didn't want to make him look fatter, which Lou Costello was, of course, short and, the tubby guy. And Abbott was the smart, skinny guy. I think they kind of just made Plucky's eyeballs look a little rounder in this one as an attempt to kind of make Plucky look a little rounder. I'm not quite sure, but Plucky did look a little different. At any rate, Plucky's going around. He's touching different things around the house that they're in. And Dracula comes out, and Frankenstein and a mummy come out, and the werewolf comes out. And every time he says, Buster, and Buster comes, of course, the monsters disappear.
Aren't you scared of monsters?
Of course not, no.
Hi, cutie.
You're good.
But, that was, hey, what else to say about it? I don't know. What do you guys have to say about it? Nathan, anything in this one you liked? Hold That Duck?
I really liked when he whispers, "Oh, Buster." And he's just like, he looks so, and his eyes are squinty, and he's like, the animation of it and the line reading of it is really good when he sees the vampire.
Yeah, I think
tries to whistle and
and I think it's Abbott and Costello meet. I was looking at it last night when he first sees Dracula popping out of the coffin in Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. I think it's Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. That the same little can't even say it, and he puts his fingers in his mouth like can't even do that.
He tries to whistle.
It's yeah.
Now listen. This is getting to be ridiculous.
We mentioned a lot.
I assume it's Oh Charlie was going to be the another name for Hold That Ghost. So I'm guessing he probably says Oh Charlie in the.
There we go. Yeah, because I was watching. I was like, he's not saying Abbott. He was saying somebody else. Kelly, we mentioned a lot of stuff. Anything that we didn't mention in this Hold That Duck that you saw and liked?
No, I mean, I was struck by the same thing Nathan was in the way he kept yelling, "Oh, Buster," because it was just the inflection changed every time he said it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. This is definitely a plucky, strong episode. It's a lot of babs and a lot of plucky.
Special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is nice to see. I mean, I really like Joe Alasky. Boy, oh boy, he was a talented actor. So it's you can really see that in this special. All right, we're going to move on to a pretty darn short segment right here. This is Night of the Living Doll.
Are you paying too much for car insurance? Hey, who's up for bowling?
Want to see pictures of my grandchildren?
Night of the Living Doll.
Nathan, what happens here in Night of the Living Doll?
We have an over voicing telling us how scary this next segment is because, and we see all these tunes that are our favorites or the Wacky Land tunes are all running away from some unknown terrible evil that's coming up. And we find out that one of these evil things is someone asking about car insurance and someone else is like, look at my grandkids, and it turns out it's the Night of the Living Doll instead of dead people, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that not zombies. So they're trying to break into the house or something, and they at the other door because they're like trying to get away. There's a fanboy of some sort, and they run past the fanboy and. Because he wants Fifi to get her own show or something.
Yes.
In the cartoon, The Amazing 3, there was a slight flutter on Fifi's face in scene C-43, and I wanted to know if that was a deliberate in-joke or just a mistake. And when is Fifi going to get her own series?
I think that's basically how it ends.
Yeah. It's basically the pop-up ads kind of thing that we saw in the reboot of Animaniacs, except it's done much more compressed. That we get it, that these things are annoying and scary. And... yeah, so that Fifi creepy. He also had Willow on tape, which I thought was funny. He has Willow on tape, which I gotta watch
just to show that he's a nerd.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't guy's a nerd. He likes Willow.
Probably paid like $60 for that or something.
Yeah, back then. But Willow, I gotta watch that on Disney Plus. It's coming out with the new series coming out. I gotta rewatch Willow. I haven't seen that. I don't think I've ever seen it from beginning to end. Actually, I've seen.
Good.
Yeah, I've seen like 75% of it, I think. I really want to sit down and watch, especially with the new series coming out. I definitely want to watch it. But that guy really made me laugh, the super fan or whatever, just because the things he's mentioning about Fifi gave this look. And is Fifi going to have her own series and all this stuff? And I still see these comments to this day from different people about certain characters, and I just have to just go, oh boy, when I see that. So they're still around, and that was the scariest one. But
they still want Fifi to get her own show, and
oh boy. At any rate, that was funny. But anything else that happened in this that either one of you can think of to talk about?
There's rumors about that guy.
There is. Some people in the wiki, and this is something we got to try to see if this is true or not, because I don't think they would have joked about this. There was there's rumors of a stalker of Tress MacNeille, and that's what they're alluding to in this. This super fan was this guy who was obsessed with Tress MacNeille, and that's why Tress doesn't go to conventions anymore.
But I couldn't find a source for that at all. Like,
I've seen other things online.
I've seen other blogs and things, but people none of those have a source.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no. There's no news article or anything about that.
Speaking from experience and spending days with Tom at a convention and talking about Tress and how amazing she is, no discussions have ever come up about, oh yeah, well, Tress doesn't do this because of this crazy fan or anything. So I don't know. I don't know if there's.
And we decided
any
to
truth.
write about that in the episode.
So I don't know if there's any truth to that right there. I think that Tress doesn't do, personally, this is just my, what the sense I get, that Tress doesn't do conventions that much just because she doesn't really like doing conventions that much. She's a busy woman.
Probably like a little bit of anxiety too, going to these things. And
just meeting. I mean, it takes a special kind of person to meet fans. And, you know, sometimes it can be a little hard, you know, when you're talking to strangers who talk like they know you, and also B, talk like you know everything about every single character that they are obsessed about as well. When in fact, let's be honest, folks, ladies and gentlemen listening to this, voice actors do something for just a day or two and then they are done with it. And then, especially if they're busy, they move on to more and more roles.
With Tress's catalog of so many, it's kind of like there's no way
how would she keep it all straight? It's impossible. She's one of the busiest voice actors in the business. And so I feel that that kind of awkwardness would not be necessarily fun, especially when you're already making a good living keeping so busy, that she probably is like, you know what, I'll do them sparingly. But anyway, we'll see. Anyway.
But so I think it's a rumor. I don't think it's true. So
yeah, we'll see if we can confirm or deny that at some point on the show. We got our ways. Frankenmyra and Dizzy Gore. That's the next one.
Painting Frankenmyra. A myth, a legend, or simply the horrible naked truth?
I'll take horrible naked truth for 500.
Frankenmyra and Dizzy Gore. This is the Frankenstein story. So Elmyra is Dr. Frankenstein, or Frankenmyra, and she starts off, they're pushing this body, I'm assuming out of a graveyard, I believe. And Dizzy Gore is Igor, or Igor. And they're pushing him, this covered big body out. Elmyra starts off, and it's very Cree Summer does kind of a creepy Elmyra voice at the beginning, which is kind of cool.
Finally, I, Dr. Frankenmyra, have all the parts I need to create my creature. The world's most perfect pet! And I'm gonna hug him and squeeze him and love him into teeny little pieces.
And then the rest of it is just standard, it's evil Elmyra voice. But she talks about, get me the brain.
All that's missing is the brain. Dizzy Gore, give me the brain.
The obvious nature of this pun belittles us all.
It is the brain from Pinky and the Brain, which was pretty easy to do since Dizzy Devil is voiced by Maurice LaMarche to get the brain cameo in there. But it turns out that, Dizzy can't find a brain. Elmyra says, don't worry, I've taken care of it. And they put up the monster up there. The monster is Gossamer, by the way, the red monster from Looney Tunes. There's electricity, there's kites, there's a lot of stuff, like the machines from the original movies that in this case are parking meters and scales, and it looks really, goofy and all. Animation's amazing. Once again, everything looks fantastic. And when the monster finally comes to life, it acts like Elmyra. And why? Because Elmyra took out a little of her brain and put it into the monster.
Look at the cutie Woody. I'm gonna love you and squeeze you and dress you up like Heather Locklear.
Doctor, what brain you give creature? A little bit of my own.
Eventually, Dizzy, I think, gets put on this bed and slams up to the top of the castle, and he gets knocked out, maybe gets killed. I'm not quite sure, but the monster, I think, takes care of it this time, right? And takes a little of the monster puts a little of his brain inside of Dizzy, so now all three of them start acting like Elmyra. The end. That's pretty much it. It's silly and silly and crazy and looked really cool. But is there anything else in this one that we could think that is of note from either Nathan or Kelly?
I liked seeing their little scars on their head when they.
Well, yes, that was cute, and of course that's going to come at the very end for the deleted ending segment. We get to find out that Elmira is fine, so that's good to know. Well, I got to say one more time, amazing! Like that, Gossamer looked really intimidating. Like when they first showed him, when it showed like a furrowed brow, it looked creepy. It looked like really cool. So just amazing. The animation really made this segment work. If it was anything else, I don't know if the jokes would have landed as well as they did for this segment. Well, Kelly, you're going to bring us home for this last short here, A Gremlin on a Wing.
Plucky Slog, Earth dates October 31. Hampton and I, en route to our destination, seem to have encountered an electrical storm. I have taken it upon myself to reassure and comfort the tender lad, for he has not the bravery, nor the courage of one such as I.
So, Gremlin on a Wing is a Twilight Zone parody. What happens here, Kelly?
Plucky is on an airplane, and he looks out the window, and there's a gremlin that's sabotaging the plane's wing and the engine. And it's not a gremlin like, when people think about gremlins, they think about like Gizmo, and Stripe and all that. But this was like an alien-looking gremlin, and Plucky's talking like William Shatner, because I guess in the original Twilight Zone episode this is based on, it had William Shatner in the main role. He's really the only one that like sees the gremlin, and there's a stewardess, a flight attendant rather, that is dressed like Uhura from the original Star Trek. She's asking Plucky if there's anything wrong, and
there's a little green man on the wing. Look! But he was there just a second ago.
Do we need something to calm our little selves down?
No, wait, beam me up, Scotty.
She doesn't see the gremlin. There's a quick cameo of Thaddeus Plotz in the airplane. And then at the end of the episode, Uhura is revealed to be actually the gremlin.
Everyone's safe now, Plucky. I know, but I'm the only one who knows why.
Well, now, I wouldn't say that.
Yep. I wouldn't say that. Yes. And that, in a nutshell, is it. And if you really, I mean, this is a really, well done deconstruction, reconstruction of the actual Twilight Zone segment, which I was actually more familiar with the John Lithgow version. I don't know about you, Kelly, but from the movie, which I've seen more growing up. And I really liked John Lithgow's performance in that. Just because he can play somebody who's losing their mind very well, getting all sweaty. Plucky is definitely doing the whole Star Trek references constantly. When he gets hit on the head, instead of birds, it's little Star Trek Enterprises. He says something to the effect of, what in the Roddenberry are you talking about? Sleep well and prosper to Hampton when Hampton wants to go to sleep. There's a great shot of the gremlin when he opens up the blinds and the gremlin's pressing its face up against the glass and making a weird face. That same kind of thing happens. It's a very goofy alien in the original Twilight Zone series. It's a furry, big ape creature. It's looked like they got an ape costume and just put a different face on it. It's interesting. But the gremlin itself in this cartoon is from Looney Tunes, and there's a Looney Tunes cartoon featuring Bugs Bunny and a gremlin, and Bugs is trying to stop the gremlin from destroying the plane that he's in. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I seem to remember this cartoon, that Bugs Bunny cartoon, I should say, with the gremlin playing in one of the TV sets or something like that on the actual Gremlins movie. Not 100% sure on that, but they're both owned by Warner Brothers, so I'm sure it's definitely a possibility. I did like this. I never realized before that the gremlin is kind of shaped like an airplane in a way, where its ears are the wings and its tail's the tail of it. So it flies at one point. And I was like, oh, that's a cool little design. I'm not 100% sure. I know that Roald Dahl had a big influence with Disney when they were going to do Gremlins with Disney at first. And I think that deal might have fallen through, and then it went over to Warner Brothers instead. I don't know. There's Gremlins. The Roald Dahl looking Gremlins are on Epic Mickey, which is this video game with Oswald the Rabbit that I'm sure some of our listeners are familiar with. There's a bunch of Gremlins in that. Gremlins, they're goofy looking. But the main thing that they kept saying in this over and over and over again, Frank Welker's voicing the gremlin, and he keeps going, oh, I wouldn't say that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's that thing that they said in those Looney Tunes cartoons. And I realized, what was that a reference to? Because anything that they said like that in the 1940s is, that's a reference to something that is lost these days. So I had to Google that stuff. And in Drafty Daffy, there's this egghead looking guy who's, I think I forget the exact thing. He's inspecting, he's doing something with Daffy, and he keeps going, I wouldn't say that. It's in a bunch of other cartoons too. It comes from the radio show The Great Gildersleeve, and there was this character named Richard Q. Peavy who would always say, I wouldn't say that.
The chief's in on this too?
Yes. He wants the boat the last 2 weeks in July.
Oh?
And I'm taking it the first 2 weeks.
Well, that still leaves the last 2 weeks in June for me.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
There was a summer about 15, 16, 17 years ago where I got a whole tape full of a whole CD full of old radio dramas and comedies. And I seem to remember when that guy would say that, the audience would go crazy. Because it's like, he said the thing. And it was popular.
Come on, say it, Bart.
Say it, Bart.
Say the line, Bart.
I didn't do it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, that's how entertainment continues to be to this day. Catchphrases. At any rate, that's our last segment. Before we get to our closing credits, which are, just a quick discussion of that. Anything that you liked in this last segment, Nathan, that Kelly or I didn't mention?
I like that he had to go out of the plane and try to spray it with a hose.
I think that's in the original thing too. I think that I remember John Lithgow getting a fire hose. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm sure he didn't fall outside of the thing though. And
he breaks the glass and then gets sucked out.
He breaks the glass and they have to
a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, the Hello Nurse Uhura
crashed the plane. Yeah,
she blocked it with her posterior. We'll say.
Yeah, it's large. I liked Hampton and Plecky's conversations with each other. Like, oh, there's a gremlin. Like, oh, they don't take up too much gas. Don't worry. Like, they're
like a Pinto.
Yeah, it's like a Pinto, not a small car.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, this is 5% safer than swallowing a tarantula.
It reminded me a lot of like the got Plane Pals on Animaniacs when they're just going over all how dangerous airline travel is, and just in a funny way. And speaking of which, like Kelly mentioned, Thaddeus Plotz being in there, and I'm not exactly sure if that's Thaddeus Plotz, or I think that might be Ivan Blosky from Plane Pals, actually, because he
is this right when he's getting the hose? Like,
right? I don't know. There's a part where like I don't know what the wiki is referring to, but it's like there's a bald guy with white hair on the sides of his head, and he looks like he's just kind of like sleeping or kind of has his eyes closed. He kind of looks. I mean, everybody's a little off model because they're just using background character sheets, but to me, it looked like Ivan Blosky on the plane again. And if so, that guy cannot catch a break. Whatever plane he goes on there's gonna be problems. So that's my opinion. You guys out there can make up your own minds about if that's Plotz or not. But Nathan looks like he's looking. What are your?
I'm looking. I think it's right when he's about to get the
hose.
The hose.
So okay, maybe they're both on it then, because I remember like right at the beginning of the episode, right before they pans over to Plucky and Hampton, they show this man with a bald head, and that guy looked like Ivan Blosky to me. We'll see.
It might be the same guy.
Might be the same guy. Well, at any rate, let's go ahead and get to our last little part, which is just the wrap up. And the wrap up is they kind of say, well, they sing a song about we're going to wrap it all up, folks. And all the scary stories are done and we're all back to normal. Let's listen to this little segment.
Our fright night has ended.
We hope you found it splendid. My nasty scar has mended.
And we go trick or treat. We saw lots of creatures
and spoofed a lot of features.
We're scarier than teachers, but we have too much to eat. We'll turn on the lights now. You'll see it's safe for you. No ghastly ghouls,
no crazy fools.
Well, maybe just a few. We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony. It's Tiny Toon Adventures, and that's all we've got. Gee, those costumes sure were hot.
So there you go. That is truly, I guess that's the last time we get to hear the original cast singing, or at least the majority of the original cast singing the theme song and stuff, or at least a version of the theme song altogether. This was a swan song, as I said before, of the original cast. Don Messick died a couple of years after the recording of this episode, I believe. So yeah, there you go. I think it's time to get to our water tower rating. Well, out of 5 water towers, how many would you give this episode, this special of Tiny Toon Adventures Night Ghoulery? Kelly, let's start with you.
I think I would give it a 4. There's some Spielberg references, and there's so many segments. There's plenty. Even if you didn't like every single one, there's plenty of other segments to enjoy.
Nathan, what about you?
I'll give it 4.5. I thought Babs and Plucky were wonderful in this. The animation was spectacular in it, and there's only like 1 or 2 segments that were kind of like, I could probably cut that. But overall, like every segment's very strong, especially ones with like Plucky or Babs in them. I think those were like my favorite ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I almost went with 5 for this one. I think I am going to go 4.5, however, just because, some of the segments don't quite hit it. And I you know what? I take it back. I'm going to go ahead and do 5, but that is only if you watch the original opening and ending. Okay. If you don't watch the original opening and ending, it's a 4.5. That extra half goes to the beginning and end, which should be on it. So I'll give it 5. I'll give it 5 with asterisks on it. But yeah, for the purposes of your Excel sheet, Nathan, just a 5. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get to our contact information. Nathan, where can people find you online?
Oh, Joey, I'm on Twitter, JangoFT, that's me.
And Kelly, what about you?
I'm also on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS.
All right, and as for the Animaniacast, we're on every single podcast thing out there. If we're not, let us know. Animaniacast@gmail.com. And of course, we're over on Facebook and Twitter, and, well, who knows with this Elon Musk thing if we're going to stay on Twitter or not. Well, but Twitter and Instagram, and gosh, there's a bunch of other things too. And like I said, hey, we're a proud member of the RetroZap Podcast Network. So check out retrozap.com for amazing articles and podcasts that can all be delivered to you for free if you subscribe to the RetroZap podcast feed. You can also go to animaniacast.com for a full listing, a full rundown of all the episodes that we've done in the past. So you can go back and listen to all those and enjoy this over 6.5 years, of this podcast that we have been doing.
What?
Good Darth Vader impression there, Nathan.
What? Thanks.
But for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animaniacast unless otherwise indicated.
You can take them, right? Ha! Of course. Can I get paid in advance?